Late morning inside the office. The steady rhythm of keyboards fills the workspace. Employees finish reports, reply to emails, and wrap up meetings before lunch. The atmosphere feels lighter than it did earlier in the day. Emma glances at the clock on her computer screen. 11:58 a.m. Only 2 minutes until lunch. This morning, she learned how departments worked together. She learned who handled client communication. She learned where to find meeting rooms. For the first time since joining the company, she feels like she's beginning to understand the office. Then the clock changes. 12 p.m. Almost immediately, the office transforms. Chairs slide back, laptops close. Employees stand and gather their belongings. Small groups begin forming throughout the workspace. Some head toward the cafeteria together. Others continue conversations as they walk. Everyone seems comfortable. Everyone seems relaxed. Everyone seems to know exactly where they're going. Emma watches from her desk, and suddenly, she realizes something. She knows where the cafeteria is. She just doesn't know where she belongs once she gets there. A few minutes later, Emma enters the cafeteria carrying her lunch tray. The room is busier than she expected. Coworkers sit together naturally. Some discuss projects. Others laugh about stories Emma doesn't understand. Near the windows, she notices an empty chair. For a moment, she starts walking toward it. Then she hears the people at the table burst into laughter. Emma slows down. What if she interrupts them? She quietly changes direction. A second empty chair catches her attention. Again, she hesitates. The strange thing is that none of this feels logical. She survived her first morning in a new office, yet somehow an empty chair feels intimidating. For the first time all day, she wishes someone had given her instructions. There are guides for company software, guides for workplace procedures, guides for office policies. But nobody ever teaches you what to do when you're holding a lunch tray and wondering where to sit. A familiar voice suddenly speaks behind her.
You look like you're trying to solve a mystery.
Honestly, I think I am.
What's the mystery?
Everyone seems to know where they belong. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Mr. Carter smiles, not because she's struggling, because almost every new employee faces the same challenge.
You know, many careers begin with something much simpler than meetings or presentations.
Like what?
A conversation.
Emma looks around the cafeteria once more. The conversations, the laughter, the empty seats. Suddenly, today's lesson becomes clear. This isn't really about lunch. It's about people. And today's challenge is about to begin with a single question. The cafeteria buzzes with conversation. Employees sit in small groups enjoying their lunch break. Some discuss projects while others talk about their families, hobbies, and weekend plans. The atmosphere feels relaxed and informal. Emma stands quietly near the entrance, lunch tray in hand, still searching, still wondering, still trying to decide where she belongs. A few empty seats are scattered throughout the cafeteria, yet somehow every empty seat feels occupied, not by a person, by uncertainty. Emma notices a table near the windows. Sophia is scrolling through her phone. Rianne sits across from her, finishing his lunch. Unlike the larger groups around them, their table seems calm, comfortable, approachable. At least, she hopes so. Emma adjusts her grip on the tray, then adjusts it again. Her heart beats a little faster. She knows she should walk over, but knowing and doing aren't always the same thing. For a moment, she considers turning around. Maybe she could eat at an empty table. Maybe tomorrow would be easier. Maybe she could try again another day. Then she remembers something. If she walks away now, nothing changes. Before she can change her mind, she starts walking toward them. Each step feels strangely important, not because it's difficult, because she doesn't know what will happen next. Will they welcome her? Will she interrupt them? Will the conversation become awkward? By the time she reaches the table, she still doesn't know. But she knows one thing. Standing there silently would be even more awkward.
Hi, Sophia. Hi, Rianne.
Hey, Emma. How's your day going?
Pretty well so far.
That's impressive. Most new employees don't say that until at least Wednesday.
Emma laughs. The joke helps, a little, but she still hasn't asked the question she came to ask. For a moment, she looks at the empty chair, then back at them.
Do you mind if I join you?
The words finally leave her mouth, and suddenly, the silence feels much louder. Sophia looks up from her phone. For a brief moment, she doesn't answer. Emma immediately begins overthinking. Maybe they were discussing something private. Maybe she interrupted them. Maybe Sophia smiles.
Of course not. Have a seat.
Unless you're planning to discuss quarterly budgets during lunch, then we might have a problem.
I can confidently promise not to do that.
Everyone laughs. The tension disappears instantly. Emma sits down, and something surprising happens. Nothing. Nobody looks annoyed. Nobody seems uncomfortable. Nobody acts as if she interrupted anything important. The conversation simply continues.
So, how are you finding your first week here?
Honestly, it's been interesting. There are so many things to learn. People, departments, processes. Sometimes I feel like everyone else received an instruction manual.
We did. You should have checked your welcome package.
Really?
No, but that would have been helpful.
Sophia smiles.
Trust me, everyone feels that way at first. When I joined the company, I spent 3 days looking for the wrong meeting room.
3 days?
3 very embarrassing days.
That's nothing. I introduced myself to the same manager twice on my first day.
That actually makes me feel better.
For the first time since entering the cafeteria, Emma relaxes. The people around this table aren't perfect. They've made mistakes. They've felt nervous. They've experienced the same uncertainty she feels now. Suddenly, she doesn't feel like the only new person in the world anymore. A small realization begins to form. The hardest part wasn't finding a seat. The hardest part was asking for one. And all it took was a simple question. Do you mind if I join you? Sometimes, the smallest questions open the biggest conversations. The cafeteria grows busier as more employees arrive for lunch. Conversations blend together, while occasional laughter rises above the background noise. For the first few minutes, everything feels surprisingly easy. Emma listens as Sophia and Rianne share stories about their first weeks at the company. Some stories are helpful, others are slightly embarrassing, especially for the people telling them.
I once spent 10 minutes helping a visitor find a meeting room.
That sounds helpful.
It would have been. The meeting was in a different building.
To be fair, you were extremely confident.
That's what made it worse.
Emma laughs. The conversation feels natural, comfortable. Then something unexpected happens. The conversation stops. Sophia checks her phone. Rianne takes a sip of water. Nobody says anything. A few seconds pass. Suddenly, Emma becomes aware of the silence. Should I say something? What should I talk about? The harder she thinks, the harder it becomes. Then she remembers something Mr. Carter said earlier. When a conversation slows down, ask a question.
How long have you been working here?
Sophia immediately looks up. The simple question brings the conversation back to life.
Almost 5 years.
Really?
Honestly, my first lunch break wasn't nearly this comfortable. I sat alone for almost 20 minutes pretending to check emails.
Seriously?
The funny part? I wasn't even checking emails. I was reading the same message over and over again.
At least you had a strategy. My strategy was pretending I knew what I was doing. Everyone laughs.
What about you?
3 years. And honestly, I spent most of my first week acting confident while being completely lost.
He's not exaggerating.
Unfortunately, confidence and competence are very different things.
The table laughs again. The tension disappears completely.
Do you enjoy working here?
Most of the time. Every day is different. 1 hour I'm helping a client. The next hour I'm solving a problem I didn't know existed 5 minutes earlier.
And somehow you're always surprised.
Because I usually am.
The conversation continues naturally, question after question, story after story. And Emma notices something important. Nobody expects her to be entertaining. Nobody expects perfect answers. The moment she shows genuine interest, the conversation moves forward on its own. For a few minutes, she simply listens. Not because she's nervous anymore, because she's curious. And curiosity turns out to be much more useful than trying to sound impressive. Good conversations aren't built by having all the answers. They're built by showing interest in other people. Sometimes, one simple question is enough. The cafeteria remains lively as employees continue their lunch break. Some discuss projects, while others talk about families, hobbies, and weekend plans. The conversation at Emma's table continues naturally. For the first time all day, she isn't thinking about being the newest employee. She's simply enjoying the company.
So, Emma, how are you finding the office so far?
Honestly, much better than I expected. Yesterday, everything felt overwhelming. Today, I at least know where most things are.
That's progress. Trust me, finding the correct meeting room is a major achievement around here.
Especially if you're following Sophia's directions.
One wrong hallway one time and suddenly I'm famous.
Everyone laughs. The atmosphere feels relaxed and comfortable. After a moment, Emma decides to ask a different kind of question. Not about work, about people.
What do you usually do outside of work?
Rianne immediately smiles.
Now that's a much better question.
Agreed. We've talked about work all morning.
I enjoy photography, mostly nature photography. Whenever I get free time, I grab my camera and head outdoors.
Have you always enjoyed it?
Since college. It started as a hobby, but now it's my favorite way to relax.
For me, it's reading. Mostly novels. Although recently I've been trying to read more business books.
Trying being the important word.
I finished one last month. That counts.
I think it does.
Everyone laughs. Then Emma grows curious.
What's the most valuable thing you've learned from reading?
That most people are dealing with challenges you can't see.
The table becomes thoughtful.
You know, people always assume I've been confident. But when I first joined this company, I could barely start a conversation. I spent many lunch breaks sitting alone because I was afraid of saying the wrong thing.
Seriously?
Seriously. Simple conversations felt stressful.
Emma is surprised. The confident coworker sitting across from her once felt exactly the same way.
She's not exaggerating. I've heard the stories.
Thank you for your support.
The table bursts into laughter. But Emma keeps thinking about what Sophia said. All day she assumed everyone else naturally belonged here. Apparently they didn't. They learned. They practiced. They grew. Just like everyone else.
What about you, Emma? What do you usually do outside of work?
Lately, I've been spending a lot of time learning new things, especially communication and professional skills. I enjoy understanding how people think and interact.
That explains a lot.
What does?
You're curious. Most people focus on their own answers. You spend more time asking questions.
Emma hadn't thought about it that way. But maybe he's right. Every good moment she's had today started with curiosity, not confidence. Curiosity.
And that's a valuable skill. People remember when someone genuinely listens to them.
Emma looks around the cafeteria. Earlier she saw strangers. Now she sees people with stories, interests, and experiences. And it all started with one simple question. What do you usually do outside of work? Sometimes the fastest way to build a connection is to show genuine interest. The lunch break continues. The cafeteria remains busy, but the rush has begun to slow. Employees are relaxed, enjoying the last part of their break before returning to work. Emma feels different now, more comfortable, more confident. The nervousness she felt when entering the cafeteria has almost disappeared. The conversation flows naturally around the table. Stories, questions. Laughter. For the first time since joining the company, Emma feels like part of the group.
That reminds me of something that happened during last year's team building event.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
The words leave Emma's mouth before she realizes it. Sophia stops speaking, only for a moment, but the moment feels much longer. Emma immediately understands what happened. She interrupted her. Her smile disappears. She looks down at her lunch tray. A wave of embarrassment washes over her. Not because anyone looks upset, because she knows Sophia wasn't finished speaking. For a second, Emma considers pretending nothing happened. Maybe nobody noticed. Maybe it wasn't a big deal. But she knows better.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Sophia smiles immediately. Any tension disappears before it has a chance to grow.
No problem. I was just saying that last year's team building event didn't go exactly as planned.
That's a very polite way to describe it.
What happened?
Someone printed the wrong schedule. Half the employees went to the wrong location.
Seriously?
For 30 minutes, nobody knew where anyone was.
It was complete chaos.
The table bursts into laughter, even Sophia. Whatever interruption happened a moment ago has already been forgotten. But Emma keeps thinking about it. Not because she made a mistake, because of how quickly the mistake disappeared. A simple apology, a simple correction, and the conversation moved forward. A few minutes later, the discussion continues. This time Emma listens more carefully, not because she's afraid to speak, because she's paying attention. And as she listens, she notices something interesting. Everyone interrupts occasionally, even Sophia, even Rianne. The difference is what happens next. When someone realizes it, they acknowledge it, they correct themselves, and they move on. Nobody treats it like a disaster. Actually,
That reminds me.
The client presentation?
Rianne raises an eyebrow. Sophia immediately laughs.
Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you kindly.
Emma notices it immediately. Sophia just did exactly the same thing. No embarrassment, no awkward explanation, just respect. And the conversation continues. Suddenly, Emma understands something important. Good communicators aren't people who never make mistakes. They're people who recover from mistakes gracefully. Nobody expects perfection. People simply appreciate respect. And sometimes, one polite sentence is all it takes to keep a conversation moving. Emma glances around the table. Only a few minutes ago, interrupting felt like a disaster. Now it feels like something much smaller, a normal mistake, one that anyone can make, and one that anyone can fix. Sorry, please go ahead. Outside the cafeteria windows, the afternoon sun shines across the office building. Lunch break is slowly coming to an end, but Emma feels like she's learning lessons that have nothing to do with lunch and everything to do with people. The lunch break is nearing its end. Employees begin gathering their belongings and returning trays. Conversations slowly fade as people prepare to head back to work. The cafeteria looks different now, not because anything changed, because Emma changed. An hour ago, she stood near the entrance holding a lunch tray and wondering where she belonged. Now she's sitting comfortably with people who no longer feel like strangers.
I can't believe lunch break is almost over.
That's because we spent most of it sharing embarrassing workplace stories.
And I appreciate your sacrifice.
Trust me, you haven't heard the worst ones yet.
Everyone laughs. The conversation feels effortless now. Then Emma notices someone approaching their table. Mr. Carter.
Should I be concerned? You all seem far too happy for a Monday afternoon.
We're conducting important team-building activities.
Very important, extremely professional.
Of course. Carry on.
Mr. Carter glances at Emma and immediately notices the difference. The nervous employee he spoke to earlier is gone.
So, how was lunch?
Honestly, much better than I expected.
Why?
Because I almost ate alone.
For a moment, the table becomes thoughtful.
I nearly did the same thing on my first day.
Me too. Everyone looked busy. I spent 10 minutes pretending to check emails before joining a table.
Really?
Absolutely. I kept walking around before finally sitting down.
Emma smiles. All afternoon, she assumed everyone else had been naturally confident. Apparently, they weren't.
Most people think they're the only ones feeling nervous. Usually, they're not.
Emma looks around the cafeteria. Earlier, she saw groups. Now, she sees people. People who were once new. People who once felt uncertain. People who simply started conversations.
You know something interesting? Most workplace relationships don't begin in meetings. They begin in moments like this. Lunch breaks, hallway conversations, a few minutes before a meeting starts.
That's true. I've learned more about coworkers during lunch than during some projects.
Please don't tell management that. Everyone laughs again. The atmosphere feels warm and comfortable.
Remember where you were standing when you came in?
Emma looks toward the cafeteria entrance, the exact spot where she almost turned around.
I remember.
You almost left.
I know.
I'm glad you didn't.
Emma nods. So is she. Lunch break is ending, but she feels like she's gained something much more valuable than a meal. Connections, confidence, the beginning of friendships. And all of it started with a simple conversation. Emma stands and picks up her tray.
It was nice talking with you.
Likewise.
Same here.
Emma smiles. For the first time since joining the company, she truly feels like part of the team. Early afternoon. Employees return to their desks as lunch break comes to an end. The office gradually settles back into its familiar rhythm. Keyboards click, phones ring, conversations become quieter and more focused. Emma walks back toward her desk. The office looks exactly the same as it did before lunch. The same desks, the same people, yet somehow everything feels different. Earlier that day, she worried about finding a place to sit. Now she smiles as she passes coworkers she barely knew a few hours ago. Sophia waves from across the office. Emma waves back. Rianne gives a quick nod while returning to a client call. Emma nods in return. Small moments, simple interactions, yet they feel meaningful. As she reaches her desk, Emma pauses. She thinks about everything she learned during lunch. Not company policies, not workplace procedures. People, conversations, connections. The things nobody includes in an employee handbook. And to think, it all started with an empty chair. A chair she almost didn't sit in. A conversation she almost didn't start. Emma opens her laptop. A notification appears. Tomorrow, team meeting, 9 a.m. Emma smiles. Then another notification appears. New employee introduction. Duration, 5 minutes. Emma freezes. A familiar voice speaks behind her. Mr. Carter.
You saw tomorrow's schedule?
Please tell me the introduction is optional.
It isn't.
That's unfortunate.
You'll be fine. Tomorrow they'll be a little less strange than they were this morning.
Emma thinks about Sophia.
The lunch conversation. Maybe he's right. Maybe tomorrow won't be as scary as it seems. Or maybe it will. Either way, she'll have to face it.
Thank you for joining Emma's workplace journey. We'll see you in the next episode.